Welcome back. We're looking at race relations and what it means to be black in America. Now, from Syracuse in New York, I'm joined by Dr. Boyce Watkins, professor at Syracuse University and frequent commentator on race in the US. From Albany, Deborah Dickinson, author and essayist, and here with me in Washington, D.C., Ta-Nehisi Coates. Well, let's get to an interesting number of responses we got from people we spoke to on the street asking, basically, will having a black president affect race relations in the United States? This is the response we got from a handful of people we spoke to.
I think it's time that we brought many people together who haven't been represented before to give them a voice and that they've never been heard before. And I think this is an opportunity for all of us.
I think there are people, particularly of Caucasian race, and those who may believe that a black person in America may not be competent. I think with our current candidate, Obama, that he is quite competent, and it will disprove probably a lot of the myths.
I don't think a black president will improve race relations in America. I think Americans will improve race relations in America. I think it's up to us to decide that we're no longer going to judge people because of what they look like, but based on their character and their morality.
Well, listening to those viewpoints and also a quote I'm going to get from Bill Cosby for you here, Dr. Dickinson. I want you to comment on that. Now, the quote from Bill Cosby, where he says, "Come on, people." He says, "Sometimes people with a victim mentality feel hopeless and do self-destructive things that make their lives even worse. It's time to redirect that energy. It's time to think positively and act positively. Black communities and families must provide our youth with the love and guidance that keeps them strong and on that positive path. Blaming white people can be a way for some black people to feel better about themselves, but it doesn't pay the electric bills." Listening to that and listening to what people said on the street there, where do you put the rate of progress that's being made in this country when it comes to trying to deal with the race issue? Dr. Dixon.
It's strange. I'm one of the people who was a supporter of Dr. Cosby. I'm not a supporter of the way he said things, because I don't think he thought this was going to come from a speech he considered to be offhand at the NAACP 50th Jubilee a couple years ago. So I think he put things rather crudely, but I think he's absolutely tapping into a vein of a feeling in the black community that is all too real and all too relevant. And it is interesting that in 2008, when things are relatively so much easier for black people than they were back in his day and back in my mother's day, who's 83, and there is a sense of nihilism and hopelessness, and there's a sense of waiting for the Messiah to come and waiting for white people's hearts to be magically cleansed of racism, as if when that happens, everybody in the black community will overnight be well educated and have a job and have money in the bank. So I think he's right. I think Dr. Cosby is right in that however much racism you think there is in white people's hearts, that's not the proximate cause of the problems in the black community on a day-to-day basis. Systemically, the whole country is complicit, but day to day, it's not white racism that keeps you sleeping in your mama's basement all day. There's something else going on there.
I've got a call on the line from Greece, and Shimelis on the line from Greece. Let's get this question in from Greece. Go ahead, Shimelis. Okay, maybe we'll move on to Germany. We've got Duho on the line from Germany with a question. Duho, are you there?
I want to refer the Americans back to history.
Okay. Keep speaking, Duho, otherwise we're going to have to cut the call off.
Okay, whereby Martin Luther King made mention of something. He said, and I quote, that one day my 3 kids will be judged according to their character, not by the color of their skin. And this is what is happening right now. And I'm assuring the American people that Barack Obama is going to change the face of the old order.
Okay, well, let me get this question to Dr. Boyce Watkins. What Musa Duhu, I think his name is, said also with this email question to you, please, Dr. Watkins, and it's from Jazeera in Kentucky, here in the USA. Now, Jazeera says, "I'm not sure that
Kentucky."
Yeah. Sorry, this email's from Kentucky, yeah. And it says, "I'm not sure that blackness is being redefined in America as much as it's the fact that the American population now works in an environment that promotes diversity." Do you really believe there is that environment promoting diversity?
I think that there is some element of diversity. I think that when you talk about, to answer the first caller's question, about judging someone by their character as opposed to the color of their skin, you have to also look back and say, who's judging what it means to judge someone by their character? For example, there are many Americans who will say Jeremiah Wright has very poor character because of the things that he said that challenged our government.
Well, look, Dr.
I
Watkins?
felt that Jeremiah Wright has very...
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
I was going to ask
Are
that.
you able to hear me?
Yeah, I think we're just about to. I just want to put this point to Ta-Nehisi here, actually, on that same issue. Is that the case? Do you feel that there is that kind of diversity being promoted?
Yeah, I think it's all of that at the same time. I mean, three things can be happening at once. Some people may feel like we aren't moving far enough. We may actually be moving forward, and America may be becoming a more diverse country all at the same time.
Now, do you think that the political correctness hinders or helps?
I don't think there's actually much political correctness. I think people say what they want to say and then complain about the fact that people get mad at what they want to say. But you can't, go out there and expect to, do a Geraldine Ferraro and then get pissed when somebody stands up and says you're wrong. It's, you don't have the right to not be rebutted.
Do you think, Dr. Dixon, I mean, a lot of people in Europe and around the world feel that America lives with this veil of political correctness, that people have to use certain terms or they have to say certain things, otherwise they're liable, perhaps even legally, and yet really what's being thought in the hearts and minds is something very different.
I would agree with Ta-Nehisi, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That's a way of, people say something provocative, and then when people answer back, they go, oh, you're trying to make me be politically correct. Like, no, I'm trying to tell you you're wrong, okay? So I don't buy this notion of political correctness. That's a card somebody throws out when they don't want to be argued with. So this notion that we live under this draconian veil of political correctness is absolutely not true. People say what they want to say, and then they don't want to be answered back. But I will say this, the whole notion of political correctness is making well-intentioned people think, oh, maybe what I said was hurtful. About 10 years ago, I used the term Oriental, and a white person said, oh, Oriental is passé, now you say Asian. I was glad to be informed of what the proper terminology was. What is so hard about calling people what they want to be called, So that notion of political correctness, it's either people who are too cowardly, they want to be in the kitchen but they can't stand the heat, or they're just they're too cowardly to even get into the kitchen. So that whole political correctness thing has been overblown. You need to plant your feet, say what you want to say, and take the consequences.
Okay. As always, many questions and never enough time. I want to thank Dr. Deborah Dickerson, Dr. Boyce Watkins. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us, and also Ta-Nehisi Coates. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us with your questions. On the next show, we look at the UN brokered peace deal for Somalia. There are Somalis who are doubting it will bring peace to their war-torn country. We hope you'll send in questions to riz@aljazeera.net for that. And we'll see you next time.